99% of people think money is about math. If that were true, every engineer would be rich and every accountant would be a millionaire by next month. They are not. Morgan Housel, in The Psychology of Money, argues that the gap between your intelligence and your bank balance is explained by behavior, not IQ. In this video, we walk through 18 money lessons from the book, wrapped inside 1 year in the life of Harry, a regular guy who finally stops feeling broke and starts feeling free. By the end, you will know which habits quietly hold you back and which ones you can change this month to shift your future. So, meet Harry. Harry is 32. He coordinates projects for a small construction company. After taxes and benefits, he brings home $3,173 each month. Rent eats $1,221. His car loan takes $319. Minimum payments on old credit cards take another $247. By the 20th, his checking account is usually under $100. He has read money books. He has watched videos. He is not dumb, but his money story still feels stuck. One night, scrolling in bed, he hears a line that stops him. Doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. Harry pauses. He does not need a new brain. He needs new habits. Lesson 1. No one is crazy. Harry always thought he was bad with money. He compared himself to coworkers who grew up with parents who invested and talked calmly about retirement. Harry grew up with overdue bills on the fridge and arguments about late fees. For him, money meant fear and silence. The book's first idea is that your view of money is shaped by your personal history. Nobody is crazy. They are reacting to their own story. So Harry stops calling himself stupid. Instead, he asks, "If I was not ashamed, what small thing would calmer me do with my next paycheck?" Guilt freezes you. Curiosity moves you. Lesson 2. Luck and risk are always in the room. At work, Harry sees two managers. One bought a house at the perfect time before prices spiked. The other bought a similar house 1 year later and has been underwater ever since. Same city, similar salaries, opposite outcomes. The Psychology of Money reminds Harry that luck and risk are siblings. You never see the full story from the outside. So instead of worshiping or hating people based on their net worth, he asks, what part of their result comes from behavior I can copy, and what part came from luck I cannot? That keeps him humble and stops him from gambling his future because a stranger online claims they never miss. Lesson 3. Never enough. 2 months later, Harry gets a raise. His take-home jumps to $3,409. The old Harry would have celebrated by upgrading his apartment and ordering more delivery food. New Harry remembers the stories of rich people who risked everything chasing an extra slice of status. If enough keeps moving, your life becomes a treadmill that never stops. So Harry lets his lifestyle move a little, not a lot. He increases rent by $93 to live closer to work. The rest of the raise stays with him. He writes one line above his desk. More money is only useful if it buys more freedom, not just more flex. Lesson 4. The confounding power of compounding. Harry always thought compounding was for people already rich. Then he reads that most of Warren Buffett's net worth arrived after his mid-50s. The secret was not a magic stock. It was starting early and never stopping. So Harry tests compounding in a tiny way. On the first of the next month, he sets a rule. Every payday, the first $79 go into a separate savings account he calls quiet money. No fancy investing, just a small snowball at the top of a hill. After 3 deposits and a bit of interest, the balance is around $250. He is not rich, but for the first time, there is a number in his life that only moves upward. Lesson 5. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. Harry used to think the game ended when you made it. Now he sees 2 games. One game is getting ahead. The other game is not blowing yourself up. People who get wealthy take some risks. People who stay wealthy respect fragility. So Harry splits his behavior. On the get-ahead side, he starts learning about low-cost index funds and plans to move part of his quiet money into them. On the stay-wealthy side, he sets a rule. Keep at least 1 full month of expenses in plain cash. No chasing huge returns with rent money. No touching that buffer unless life punches him in the face. Lesson 6. Tails, you win. Harry reads that a small number of big events drive most results. A few huge stock winners pay for a pile of losers. A handful of decisions make most of a career. So instead of trying to be right every time, Harry changes his goal. He wants to stay in the game long enough to be around when the good tales show up. That means he does not quit his job to chase a get-rich scheme. When he opens an investing account, he chooses broad index funds instead of a single flashy stock. He knows he will not pick the next world-changing company. He does not need to. He just needs to own small slices of everything and let time do its work. Lesson 7. Freedom. Morgan Housel calls control over your time the highest form of wealth. Harry tests that idea. He looks at his calendar and asks, what piece of freedom could I realistically buy in the next year? The answer is not a Ferrari. It is the ability to say no to toxic overtime without panic. So he gives quiet money a new target, roughly 2 months of core expenses. When he hits that, he knows he could leave a bad job and survive. Now saving is not abstract. Every extra dollar equals minutes of future freedom. Lesson 8. The man in the car paradox. For years, Harry believed people with luxury cars were more important. Then he reads the chapter about the man in the car. When someone drives past in a shiny sports car, almost nobody thinks, what an impressive driver. They think, how would I look in that car? The admiration never lands on the person. Harry laughs because he recognizes himself. He has been driving a car that is slightly too expensive, mostly for appearances. The monthly payment is $319. Insurance is high. After a week of thinking, he does something his old self would have mocked. He sells the shiny car, clears the loan, and buys a reliable used car in cash. The status symbol disappears. So does the payment. His insurance drops. Most important, the knot in his stomach every time that bill arrived is gone. Lesson 9. Wealth is what you do not see. Social media shows vacations, gadgets, restaurant nights. It does not show quiet brokerage accounts and old paid-off cars. The book hammers one point. What you see, the visible rich, is spending. What you do not see, the invisible rich, is saved and invested money. Harry decides he wants to be secretly wealthy, not loudly broke. When friends invite him on an expensive weekend, he checks his freedom target. If the trip would delay that goal by more than 1 month, he says no. They think he is just busy. He knows his invisible wealth is moving closer to freedom. Lesson 10. Save money, even without a perfect plan. Most advice tells you to save for something. Retirement, a house, college. Housel points out a simpler truth. The reason to save is not only for named goals, it is to create options. Harry takes that literally. He raises his quiet money transfer from $79 to $113. He does not know exactly what every future dollar will fund. He just knows future Harry will be grateful that past Harry left him choices. Lesson 11. You and me see money differently. Harry used to compare his progress to influencers with giant portfolios and feel hopeless. Then he reads that people live completely different financial lives even with the same salary. Some crave security, some crave status, some crave freedom. There is no single correct path. There is only, does this match who I am and what I value? Harry admits something. He does not care about being the richest. He cares about never feeling trapped, so he stops copying other people's goals. He picks 3 numbers that matter to him: 1 month of expenses in cash, that 2-month freedom buffer, and eventually enough invested that work becomes optional in his 50s. Everything else is background noise. Lesson 12. Surprise is normal. Most of what moves markets and lives are things nobody saw coming. So Harry bakes surprise into his plan. He stops telling himself, nothing bad will happen. Instead, he assumes something annoying will absolutely happen this year. He keeps the cash buffer untouched. He does not max out every loan offer. Half a year into his new habits, the surprise arrives. His company loses a contract. Overtime disappears. His paycheck shrinks. Old Harry would have panicked. New Harry cuts some wants, pauses non-essential purchases, and his life does not implode. The plan expected surprise. So surprise hurts, but does not destroy him. Lesson 13. Leave room for error. Some of the best investors treat room for error as a feature, not a bug. Harry adds slack to everything. He builds his budget as if rent were a bit higher than it really is. He pretends his car costs more than it does. He does not count irregular bonuses as guaranteed income. That cushion means when life costs more, he is already ready. Room for error is why his habits survive the first bad month instead of collapsing. Lesson 14. You will change. When Harry was 21, he wanted to retire by 30. When he turned 30, he just wanted his credit cards gone. Our goals are not fixed. We are not robots. The book makes this explicit. Your future self will not want exactly what your present self wants. So Harry stops locking himself into forever promises. Instead of saying, I will live here forever, he says, I want enough flexibility that if I change my mind in 10 years, I am not trapped. Instead of saying, I will never change careers, he says, I want enough savings that I can pivot if I find something I love more. He keeps his long-term direction, but lets his specific goals evolve. Lesson 15. Nothing is free. Every reward in finance has a price tag. You just do not pay the price with cash. You pay with volatility, uncertainty, and occasional fear. Harry opens a simple index fund and starts moving $113 from his quiet money into that investment each month. 2 months later, the market dips. His balance falls. Old Harry would have called himself stupid and bailed. New Harry reminds himself, this is the fee, not a fine. The short-term drop is the price for long-term growth. If he wants the reward, he has to sit through the roller coaster without jumping off at the worst spot. Lesson 16. Reasonable beats perfectly rational. Textbook. Rational says you should always optimize every dollar. Real life says you also have to sleep at night. Harry could invest every spare cent for maximum growth. But if that makes him so nervous that he checks his portfolio 10 times a day, he will eventually make a dumb decision. So he builds a plan that is reasonable, not perfect. He keeps more cash than some experts suggest. He pays down one smaller debt early because seeing it disappear motivates him. He chooses an investing strategy he understands, even if a more complex one might squeeze out tiny extra returns. His plan works because he can actually stick to it. Lesson 17. The seduction of pessimism. Bad news always sounds smarter than good news. Everything is going to crash sounds deep. Things will probably work out over decades sounds naive. Harry used to binge pessimistic videos. They made him feel informed, but also paralyzed. The book points out that progress is slow and boring, while setbacks are loud and dramatic. So Harry rewires his information diet. He still pays attention to risks. He knows markets can drop and recessions can happen. But when a screaming headline says, everything is doomed, he asks, am I building a plan that only works in perfect sunshine or one that can survive storms? Since he is saving, investing broadly, keeping cash, and avoiding crazy leverage, he realizes something important. He does not need the world to be perfect to steadily improve his life. Lesson 18. When you will believe anything, the last lesson might be the most important. Humans love stories, especially ones that promise shortcuts. Harry has fallen for them before. The once-in-a-lifetime stock tip, the secret coin, the guaranteed high-yield program. Husserl warns that the more emotional a money story feels, the more carefully you should examine it. So Harry creates a simple filter for every financial story. First, he asks, what does this person gain if I believe them? Second, he asks, does this require me to be smarter than everyone else, or just more patient? Third, he asks, would this still make sense if my salary dropped for 6 months? Most hype fails that test. Boring, steady habits pass it. 12 months after Harry first picked up The Psychology of Money, his life does not look like a lottery commercial. He is still in the same apartment. He is still driving the used car. He is not retired. But here is what changed. His savings and simple investments now add up to several $1,000s. His credit card balance has dropped. He has 2 full months of core expenses in cash. More important than the math, his relationship with money feels different. He is no longer asking, how do I get rich fast? He is asking, how do I keep behaving in a way that my future self will thank me for? That is the real message of The Psychology of Money. Money is less about spreadsheets and more about stories. Less about perfect predictions and more about staying in the game. Less about beating other people and more about building a life that actually feels free. If you want to start applying these 18 lessons, do not try to change everything tonight. Pick one, maybe lesson 10, and you raise your monthly savings by a small amount. Maybe lesson 7, and you define your own version of freedom. Maybe lesson 13, and